All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this presentation about the amazing things that we've been doing at SJC Media in the last year and what's ahead for us in 2021. My name is Ken Hunt, and I'm the president and publisher of SJC Media. I was named to that role in June of last year, just as we were really settling into these weird pandemic times. Before that, I had been publisher at Toronto Life since 2015. And over the last 6 months or so, our teams have been working hard on taking what had been two separate media companies, SJC and Rogers Publishing, and merging them into one consolidated unit. We've made a lot of progress and we have an exciting year ahead of us. So today I'm thrilled to be able to share with you some of what we have planned and introduce you to the new SJC. I truly wish that instead of this being a virtual presentation, we were able to drop by your offices and present in person. We would have brought along some great food and drink. As it is, you'll have to accept a rain check on that, and I promise that we'll make a real show of it when we come to visit your offices the next time around. So much of our work here revolves around great food and drink, and we really love to share that and have a passion for it. So one thing I do know that if we were in your offices, we would get some great questions. In our experience, great questions are a lot harder to get in this virtual format. Groups tend to be less engaged in Zoom than they are in real life, and there's less of an opportunity to pick up on cues from the group, josh around, relax a little bit. And those are all things that help stir a great conversation and get to the meaty questions. Let's try our best though. If you have any questions, please enter them in chat. And at the end of the slide deck, I'll be joined by our SVP of Revenue, Lynn Chambers, and our VP of Content and Creative, Miriam Sinati. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. One last thing before we leave this slide, my heart just swells with pride every time I see a picture of all these brands together in one place. It reminds me of the incredible work our teams do every day and how many people we reach with our storytelling. So here's what we'll be covering today. I'll walk you through the amazing evolution of SJC Media in the last year. I really believe that there's never been another Canadian media company like the one we've put together. I'll go over a summary of how we got to where we are now, and I'll launch into a list of things that define us and make us different from other media companies before we move on to the Q&A. My hope is that everyone will come away from today's presentation knowing three major things. Number one, with our combined resources, SJC Media is now much, much bigger than you probably realize, and our reach is pretty much unmatched in Canada. If you're an advertiser trying to reach a large, engaged Canadian audience in a brand-safe environment, this is where you need to be. Number two, because of the size and breadth and depth of our resources, we have a wide range of capabilities that enable us to meet any client's needs, and those capabilities extend far beyond print or digital display advertising. And number three, I think you can feel really proud and confident about working with us because this is a great Canadian company with a long history that is reinvesting in Canada and in great Canadian content as we emerge from the pandemic. Over the next year, as we all get back on our feet and back to normal, telling Canadian stories and supporting Canadian businesses will be more important than ever. And we intend to be a big part of that renaissance. So this is where we are today. I think it'll surprise people to learn that we are not only Canada's largest magazine publisher by a considerable margin there, but we are without a doubt one of the largest media companies of any kind in Canada. And we play a central role in shaping the Canadian conversation. The fundamental difference with SJC to most other media companies is that we believe in the power of having a network of owned media brands that are independently strong and reach different target audiences across multiple platforms. We now have a stable of iconic brands unlike anything that has ever existed in this country. Each of these brands is powerful on their own, but together they have a longer history, are more trusted, more respected, have won more awards, started more careers, and reached more Canadians over a longer period of time than anyone else. The story of these brands is intertwined with the story of Canada itself. And then come our secret weapons, and I can't wait to tell you about some of these. Many of these are phenomenal people, truly an all-star team of journalists, editors, and designers, but also salespeople, customer support, audience and analytics teams, digital producers, and researchers. Because we're a vertically integrated company as well, we also have capabilities in printing, content creation, and studio space that no one else can bring to the table. But our real secret weapons come from the type of work that we do and the type of relationships that work creates. We put together some highlights for you in a short minute-long sizzle reel I'd like to show you now. So all of that goes by a bit fast, but I hope it gives you a taste of what the new SJC Media is all about. So how did we get here? Well, the biggest thing that happened over the past couple of years, of course, is our acquisition of the publishing division of Rogers. That acquisition included Maclean's, Chatelaine in both English and French, Today's Parent, Hello Canada, Flair, and Canadian Business. And a special thing about this for me, as the publisher of as the publisher of Toronto Life, is that when Mayor Tory was the president and CEO of Rogers, he'll tell you that he tried on more than one occasion to purchase Toronto Life and add it to their magazine portfolio. He's a big fan of the magazine and a longtime supporter, and I love the fact that the merger wound up happening the other way around. We've spent the last year and a bit now integrating these two businesses into one consolidated media company that can truly think, move, and operate together. We also played media Moneyball. What does that mean? This is a phrase of mine, and it's one that I've been using for a long time to describe how our company can thrive and survive in an era where we're forced to compete against very big tech monopolies. This is really one of our secret weapons in an area where other companies were being powered by venture capital or running huge deficits in order to drive audience growth. We instead had to learn how to use our resources in a highly efficient way. It was difficult, but we're stronger today because of it. We know exactly how our brands can move the needle with audiences, which stories will resonate, and how we can make our investments go the farthest. This is something that helped us continue to thrive even during the pandemic, and it gives us a phenomenal toolkit that we can share with our advertising partners. We know that budgets and timelines are tighter than ever, and we know how to deal with that. That's what we're all about, and we truly believe that we've found a winning formula we can share. We remained fiercely Canadian, and this is the mission of the company, something we talk about all the time, to produce Canadian content that has a positive and lasting impact on the country. We haven't tried to appeal to generic audiences driven by SEO or drive up page views with slideshows or clickbait or listicles for content that could be made anywhere in the world and consumed by anyone in the world, just in an effort to drive up more programmatic ads through the sites. This is our home. And what we can do better than anyone else in the world is serve Canadians with amazing, useful, and fascinating Canadian content. And we've really built an all-star team. We've been very fortunate in the last year, especially because we're one of the only media companies in the country that is growing, thriving, and hiring. We've been able to pluck some of the best talent from around the country and bring them on board. This is particularly true of our recently expanded sales team, which has doubled in size. This is a team of integrated media specialists selling all titles and platforms, and they're organized by category, so they bring deep knowledge and expertise to their client solutions. I believe that the team we have now is the most committed, experienced, and dynamic group of people in Canadian media, and they're really all committed to the mission and know that their work here makes a real difference for our readers and for our advertisers. As I mentioned earlier, we've spent the last few months reorganizing and restructuring this company. It's been a huge task, but one that's very worthwhile. Typically, companies like ours with many different brands tend to operate in silos, in many cases with different titles competing head-to-head with one another for the same readers and the same customers. In reorganizing the business, we wanted to avoid those problems. We really wanted to create a flywheel where each part of the company assisted the other, built around the core mission of servicing readers and advertisers better. In the middle of everything, of course, are our brands. But arranged around them are dedicated teams from outreach to customer engagement to our creative and branded content teams to a whole new marketing and customer success team that are really going to be able to lift us and all of our offerings to a whole new level. Okay, now I really want to get into some of the specifics about what sets this company apart. And there's a big number here. We reach 17.9 million Canadians each year. Now, when I was the publisher of Toronto Life, I used to love to talk about the fact that paying subscribers to the magazine alone would fill the Sky Dome to capacity. Those paying subscribers have always been a huge differentiating factor for us because those are the people who chose us. They want the content we make and they pay to get it. It's not like they've been selected by algorithm or had something shoved in their hands as they exit the subway. They paid to be there. They're big fans. And I would ask people to imagine the energy of the Sky Dome crowd for a playoff game, all paying attention to the same thing. In this analogy, of course, the field is Toronto Life, and as an advertiser, you had the opportunity to get on the field and show everyone what kind of stuff you had. In that analogy, that's just about the paying subscribers in print. It doesn't count all the other readers in the household or website visitors or social media followers or readers in Air Canada lounges. Those are the at-home audience in the baseball analogy, a huge amplification beyond the stadium crowd. And that was just one title. Now that we have all of these premium brands and all of their various channels combined, the numbers become mind-boggling. Paying subscribers would fill stadiums in every market, coast to coast. And when you include all of the other forms of amplification on our channels, you get all the way up to 17.9 million Canadians who interact with our brands. And that's from independent audited research. And that's expressly our unduplicated reach in the country. 17.9 million Canadians, over 60% of all Canadians and 68% in English Canada. This is an enormous opportunity, and we consider it enormous responsibility as well. So here are just a few of the specific staggering numbers from some of our brands, which have continued to see remarkable growth during the last year. TorontoLife.com has had an average of 2.4 million sessions per month over the last year. That means a huge portion of the city is using that site on a regular basis. Maclean's has had an average of over 3 million unique monthly visitors over the last year, making it one of the biggest and most trusted news sites in Canada. The number of people visiting Maclean's also skyrockets whenever there's whenever people are looking for trusted news. In March of last year, over 7.5 million unique visitors came to the site looking for information they could trust about the spread of COVID-19. Hello Canada is read by more than 774,000 people each week and is easily the single most popular, best-selling Canadian magazine on the newsstand, outpacing every US magazine as well, with the sole exception of People. And we'll come up with a plan for beating them soon. Chatelaine, moving on to that, has a super engaged following of more than 800,000 people on social media, making it one of the biggest influencers of women in the country. And again, our secret weapon, because these audiences are all on different channels and using different mediums, instead of being consolidated under a single media brand like a big newspaper or a TV channel, our reach is almost entirely unduplicated. Our titles reach different focused communities of interest, giving us the widest and most efficient audience possible, with a net overlap of less than 10% among them. So for some brands or campaigns, it's not about how many people you reach, but about whether or not you're reaching the right people, the influencers and decision makers who can really make a difference when it comes to taking your brand past the tipping point. We do both. We reach an audience that is both large and full of influential people. We know that Maclean's is read in the Prime Minister's office because we hear about it. We hear about it when they love what we do, and we especially hear about it when they get mad at us. When Toronto Life put Desmond Cole on the cover of the magazine with his experience of being carded more than 50 times, that became an immediate political issue in a way that it never was before. The chief of police was forced to start reckoning with it. The same thing happened when we dedicated a cover to hallway healthcare. The very next day, that issue was being waved on the floor of Queen's Park during question period. Recently, Today's Parent took a look at why a product that was linked to 59 infant deaths had been recalled in the US, but was still available in Canada. It turned out that a labeling difference allowed it to continue to be sold here. Soon after publishing the story, that product was recalled in Canada, and it's almost impossible to find for sale today. And at the top of this page, you'll see Kayla Gray of TSN. She's the first Black woman to ever host a flagship sports highlight show in Canada. And she uses her platform to incorporate insightful analysis on race and gender issues into her journalism. She's also one of Chatelaine's Women of the Year for 2020. That's an example of our secret weapon of influence. She uses her platform to do amazing work, and we use our platform to help amplify and promote her work. And now we're allies, supporting each other. You see, our titles aren't influential just because their audiences are large or they're well known. They're influential because of the ongoing importance of the work that they do, and because our platforms celebrate the very best in the country, as well as call for change when needed. Of course, I'm very proud of the work that we do in print. That's our not so secret weapon, I would say. Our magazines are beautiful and engaging experiences that can't easily be replicated in any digital form. I'm proud of this because making magazines is hard work. And every time one of our magazines come to my house, I can't help but think about the incredible amount of effort that went into it. My background is in digital. And at the beginning of my career, the fact that we could set up a website or an email database was impressive. Now, anyone can do those things in about 90 seconds. On the other hand, putting together a magazine and getting into hundreds of thousands of readers' hands is way harder. This is a clear advantage that we have, the ability to manufacture a great product and deliver it into people's homes, and the very special relationship that gives us with readers. We will continue to be in print for a really long time. But just because our roots are in print doesn't mean that we're not masters of other formats as well. We have over 19 million monthly views across our websites and over 543,000 newsletter subscribers, with open rates on our newsletters that average between 20 and 30%. In fact, if we had no print operations at all, we would be the largest digital pure play publisher in the country. And our social media footprints across brands and platforms is over 8.8 million. This means that we can engage directly and immediately with a huge audience, but we can also effectively deliver highly targeted social media campaigns to our own followers. More importantly, I think this shows just how adept our teams have become at building and engaging audiences across multiple platforms and channels. One heartbreaking thing about the last year, of course, is that our events business was the fastest growing part of this company before COVID struck. During the pandemic, we've shifted to virtual events and have had success there, but we're eager to do in-person events again once that's a responsible thing to do. We'll relaunch our fabulous signature parties and events across the country, including our Toronto Life Best Restaurants and Most Influential events, Maclean's Parliamentarian of the Year, a Canadian Business CEO Summit, and hopefully a big TIFF party involving multiple brands. Before the shutdown, nearly half of our events revenue was coming from store launches and experiential marketing on behalf of our brand partners. And throwing great parties has really become its own area of expertise within our company, and we're eager to expand that part of the business. And membership. This is a whole new way of engaging with our biggest fans that started with the launch of Toronto Life Insider and the Toronto Life Wine Club a couple of years ago. What we originally intended here was a way to convert our biggest fans into advocates, but it's turned into a lot more than that. It's become the core of a whole direct-to-consumer product set. Not only do you sell events and experiences, we have an alcohol delivery initiative and meal kit experiences. We have shoppable content now, and it's given us a whole new way of working with brands. More direct-to-consumer initiatives are a big part of our plans for this year as we produce more shoppable content across more channels and really help our advertising partners execute and complete that path to purchase. You know, I would submit that there's no other company in the country that does all of these things well: print and digital and social and events and direct-to-consumer programs. I really think we're in the blow you away business. So this is a great quote from Rajan Ruparel, the founder of Endy, saying that we created one of the most valuable pieces of content for his company. And Rajan is, I think, indisputably one of the best marketers in this country. And Endy has been a great partner for us. They believe in print as part of their mix because in part their competition isn't paying attention to that channel. But I think we're capable of being a great partner to Endy because even though our readership is very large, our team is actually very small in comparison and very customer focused. That small size means we can be agile and that clients get personal attention and a real dedication to delivering results. When I was touring Montreal a little over a year ago, talking to some of our brand and agency partners in the lead up to the relaunch of fashion and its more inclusive mandate, the most consistent piece of feedback that I got was that they appreciated that SJC was easy to work with. There's very little bureaucracy here or layers of management or approval to go through, and that saves everyone time and money. So there are very few brands that are both trusted enough and adaptable enough to stand the test of time. In fact, most companies last only about 18 years on average. That's a number from McKinsey. Our brands have been active for an average of 74 years. Toronto Life is a relative newcomer at 55 years old. Today's parent at 34 years old could have a couple of school-aged kids itself, but Chatelaine is 93. Canadian Business is 94, and Maclean's has been a Canadian icon for 116 years. These brands have survived wars, recessions, depressions, technological shifts, social upheavals, and for Maclean's, this isn't even their first global pandemic. They've survived so long because they're consistently evolving, adapting, and reinventing themselves. Thanks to those efforts, research indicates that we have a very balanced readership that will be with us for a long time, with half of our audience being under the age of 40. And now I'd love for you to hear from three of our editors for just a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fulford, editor of Toronto Life magazine. In 10 years, the city has grown at an astronomical pace. The skyline is totally transformed, and we like to tell readers about all the complex things that our city is facing. Serious issues like carting and hallway healthcare and homelessness, we tackle with passion and curiosity, and our readers tell us that those stories make them feel smarter and more engaged and better informed. But we also like to bring people together by publishing powerful memoirs by people who have lived really amazing lives. And when readers tell us that a story made them cry or made them feel hopeful or inspired, we know we've done our job.
Hi there, I'm Maureen Halushak, the editor-in-chief of Chatelaine. Chatelaine been around for more than 90 years. We reach 3.6 million Canadian women, nearly 40% of those aged 35 to 64. We have more than 200,000 incredibly loyal newsletter readers, and the click-through rate on our newsletters is 400% greater than the industry average. As part of our mandate, we want to ensure that Chatelaine is visually representative of our true demographic, especially when it comes to our fashion and beauty coverage. We don't Photoshop wrinkles or trim waistlines, and the models that we feature on our pages often aren't models at all. They're real women, including our readers.
I'm Alison Uncles. I'm the editor-in-chief of Maclean's magazine. Maclean's is such an iconic brand, launched 116 years ago, before the Spanish flu, before the First World War, and just after the first car was manufactured even. And what we learn about Maclean's is we look through the archives and see beautiful cover after beautiful cover after beautiful cover, is the amazing genius of editors through the decades who've been change agents and who have not only changed with the times, but who have changed the times. There's a thread that runs through the last 116 years. It's on purpose and it's smarts. We hire great writers to write great words. That's our core. Fun, insightful, smart. It's what it feels like Canada needs right now, and it's what Maclean's delivers.
So I hope you get a small taste from those brief clips of our amazing editors, just how dedicated they are and how proud they are of their histories. Forget about COVID. Let us tell you about how Maclean survived the Spanish flu. That's a great story. And you know, trust is something that takes time to accumulate. There's no way around it. You can't growth hack trust. And it is also incredibly fragile. Yet these brands have a combined tenure of 500 years of trust. And what that means for our advertisers is the ultimate in brand safety. Your brands are safe with us because our brands themselves are sacred to us. And we've put in the long, hard work of building and maintaining trust with Canadians. Of course, newspapers and the CBC also build trust. But what sets us apart is that we also drive desire. Magazines are ideal for this, not just because of big, glossy images and a lush experience, but because they are built around specific categories of interest. Our topics are things that people are passionate about, and this is information that they seek out. So food and drink is the purest example of this, and it's a pillar of many of our titles. One of the things I know about the future is that there will always be a place for expert advice about the best way to spend your money eating and drinking. Eating in restaurants is the thing I most miss about our current world. Real estate is the dominant topic of conversation and fascination and heartbreak in Toronto and has been for a decade. No publication leans deeper in Toronto's obsession with real estate market than Toronto Life, and it's our #1 category online, driving over 16 million page views each month. Titles like Fashion and Flair give practical advice on style and beauty, along with the most coveted high fashion items from the top house. The real change that we've made across all of our brands recently is proclaiming that fashion is not something that just belongs to 18-year-old Swedish supermodels. It's something that belongs to all of us. Everyone is worthy of advice that will help them look better and feel better. And that's what we aim for in all of our style and beauty and fashion coverage. And our readers way over-index on wanting to be the first in their group of friends to try new products and services. Our journalists are explorers. They find what is new and interesting and worthy of your time and attention. And this curation becomes the most valuable part of what we offer to readers. And that's why they come to us outside of the bombardment of algorithmic suggestions they get every day and every moment they spend online. These things together make magazines the perfect place for advertising, because so much of reading a magazine is about the search for what's new and great. And research shows that magazines are the type of media where advertising is the most valued. Readers are just in the right mindset to see great pitches from brands, and great advertising is part of the magazine experience. So focused demographics are as fundamental to our success as trust and desire. And this is a secret weapon that results in how we're able to reach so many Canadians with a wide variety of titles, each with a distinct audience and very little overlap between them, as I mentioned earlier. But because of this wide offering, and because of our extensive data sets from Vividata research, we're also able to put together customer journeys for just about any demographic or consumer target across all of our print titles and digital and social media properties as well. And we can assist any advertiser in really reaching their target market anywhere along the purchase path. It's a strategy that we call mass plus niche. The thing I would mention here is that because of our scale and vertical integration that comes from being in the same company as the printing presses we run on, we can print and deliver a 100-page magazine to someone's house for less than $1.50. That's even better about that, as subscribers cover that cost. So $1.50, that's less than a click for most categories online. And since the acquisition, we've actually been able to lower prices on print advertising due to the new efficiencies and economies of scale that we have, especially for higher frequency ad buys. In fact, our eCPMs in print are now better than what is achievable in most forms of digital advertising. And with our pricing advantages and strategic audience profiles, print winds up being a very effective part of any campaign. So the big news for this year, if you were to ask me what the single most exciting thing happening is that we're reinventing Canadian business. Now, our big news last year was the reinvention of Fashion Magazine and our new Fashion for All strategy. And we had a fabulous relaunch party at the Design Exchange. That was the last big event we did in the before times. And that strategy on fashion really worked. And now fashion has reclaimed its place as the top fashion and beauty title in the country. We expect similar results from our reinvention of CB. Since it was founded in 1927, Canadian business has covered people and companies that have shaped our economy. And the idea driving the reinvention is, just as Canada has changed, so have its leaders and entrepreneurs. So the goal with the relaunch of Canadian business is to really shine a light on the future of business, the new, diverse, socially minded leaders who are challenging the status quo with their ideas and practices. CB will unveil its new redesigned print edition in September, along with a new digital home and, most important of all, a new social network for entrepreneurs. We're calling this CB Insider, and it'll give access to a whole host of valuable events, ideas, and people, chiefly our Canadian Business Leadership Circle, a founding group of leaders who will share their secrets of success. We've already enlisted the people you see here to sit in residency with us. So we have Geraldine Hughes, president of P&G, Mark Wayoun, the president and CEO of Porsche Canada, Lena Yusufi, the founder of the family law firm Wylaw, Lisa Callens, president and CEO of Amex Canada, and Alan Lau, the CEO and co-founder of Wattpad. And I have to mention that I'm so thrilled for Alan. Wattpad just had a $600 million exit, and we've been covering Wattpad for a long time. And Alan has been a fixture of many of our parties and events, and I couldn't be more thrilled for the success that they've had. It really is a truly amazing Canadian tech story, and just the type of thing that we hope to dive into more deeply in the new CB. So we have lots of other big plans this year across all of our titles, and here are just a few of the ideas that we're working on right now. So Toronto Life has a history of producing some of the best long-form narrative on true crime. It's also the single most popular genre of podcast, so the match is easy to see. We're currently exploring stories from our archives that we can bring to life in this way. Maclean's is due for a refreshing facelift. This isn't the final version that you see here. We've been looking at a lot of different options with our team, but you can expect a newer, fresher look from Maclean's this summer. Food has always been a pillar of our coverage in Chatelaine, but as we expand our capabilities in video and our shot-ready test kitchens, we'll also expand and diversify our food coverage to better reflect the cultures and habits of Canadians today. This will include a dedication to 25% of our recipes being plant-based. There's a lot of opportunities here for brands to be included in deep integrations and special features. And today's parent has always been a trusted source on new product information for young families. But this year, we're going to be bringing all of our advice together in one place, launching a big new annual report that is going to have our top picks for everything that young families need. Another one of our secret weapons is our sister company at SJC Content. And because of that relationship, we have access to the largest suite of photography studios in the country, including 3 fully functioning kitchens, 360-degree photography capabilities, spaces big enough to hold several vehicles, an in-house prop department, and a full carpentry operation for building sets. All of those studios have continued to operate during COVID because they established a safe shoot protocol that enabled us to continue to do complex shoots remotely. We also have access to the incredible team of producers, photographers, and account managers at SJC Content who work every day with premium retailers and Global 100 brands. And I just want to show you some animation here of this amazing 200,000 plus square foot facility that they have at SJC Content. We're very fortunate to work with them as partners, and SJC Content and SJC Media together, I think, are a true power couple, combining their incredible capabilities and resources and marketing communications expertise with our ability to amplify messages across the media footprint. For me, the single most valuable thing that I learned in our acquisition of the Rogers team was that they had this incredible branded content team that worked hand in glove with their sales team and took great content ideas all the way from pitch to execution. I was familiar with the magazines, of course. I wasn't as familiar with that branded content team. And man, they're just an incredible group of people. And we also had a branded content team at SJC Media before. So bringing those teams together has been an amazing thing that we've done. So you see some examples here of some of the projects that they've worked on. We have Sephora for Toronto Life, a Dove execution that we did on Chatelaine that won a Media Innovation Award, and Maclean's podcast, The Power of One, which we did in partnership with Amazon for the latest season of Jack Ryan. That became the #2 most downloaded podcast in Canada and was nominated for a Digital Publishing Award. So the branded contents team work is growing and it's ambitious. So we've decided to give it its own name. So here we are introducing Patron Studios. Like a patron of the arts or a patron saint, this is the group that we turn to support us when we want to do extraordinary work. It's staffed by its own team of editors, writers, project managers, and designers, and they're totally committed to bringing new ideas to life for our brand partners. So they're very excited about the great work at Patron Studios, led by the amazing Sasha Emmons, by the way, and we're just doing phenomenal work there. So this is the last item that I wanted to mention before starting to wrap things up, but we're really driven by a desire to tell great Canadian stories, and that's never been more needed. During COVID, we dedicated our titles to telling the stories of frontline workers, the vaccine rollout, how businesses and Canadians alike were coping with the circumstances we were all in. And as we come out of this pandemic, it will be important to support Canada and drive the message of shop local. So we're dedicated to helping lift all Canadians out of the hard times they might have been experiencing over the last year. And we hope you'll join us in that. We look forward to working with you. So we also promise to make it easy. So we have premium brand safe environments. Our reps sell across all the platforms. So you only have to deal with one person, no matter what type of buy or what titles you're dealing with. We have responsive creative specialists who really want to make creative programs work for every advertiser. And it's a complete turnkey operation from creation to distribution through measurement and reporting. We have entry points for clients at all levels and all types of pricing. Toronto Life is used to working with small retailers and across all of our brands. We're not unfamiliar with doing multi-million-dollar campaigns. So talk to us no matter what the size of your client or program is. I'm sure that we have a solution for you. And we really do have brands that adapt to the needs of our advertisers and our customers. So I really think that when you put all those things together, we really can make it easy to execute with us. So let's talk. We really want to make this work, and we could not be more excited about what's ahead of us for 2021 and beyond. Joining me now are going to be two of the great leaders on our team. So Lynn Chambers, who joined us just before we had to send everybody home for the pandemic. She's been with us a year. She came to us. She'd been at Chorus for many years, where she'd done great innovative work there on their vast suite of channels and programs and offerings. But her roots in publishing are deep. She was the publisher of Canadian Living and the group publisher at TC. So she really knows and understands the business that we're in and how to make and sell great products. And Miriam Sinati, who I've been working with for many years now. Miriam was formerly the editor-in-chief of Chatelaine, and then was the editorial director of special projects at Toronto Life and the editorial director for SJC Media. And she's now our VP of Content and Creative, overseeing all of our brands. Hi, ladies. Nice to see you.
Hi, Ken.
Thanks for joining me this afternoon. And I'm going to stop sharing now so that we can move on to Q&A.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. In the background, the omnipresent voice is Nadine Silverthorne, Head of Marketing, and I will be managing your Q&As. There's a little button at the bottom of your screen. I'm not sure where it is on mobile. There might be 3 dots to click that says Q&A, so you can pop your questions right there in the chat, and I will ask them on your behalf. Let's get started. So Lynn, you mentioned your print rates are competitive with digital. How so?
It was Ken who mentioned that, but
oh, what's Ken? Sorry.
Yeah, well, the way we looked at it, when we brought the companies together, we did a big review of where we stood across the board with all of our rates. And the one thing that we really wanted to kind of look at it differently was to look at our audience reach and to calculate the CPM based on our audience reach, which is the way most digital properties are measured as well. So on average, our print rates are at $7 CPM. So that is definitely competitive, and if not better pricing than buying digital. And I think that most, media buyers don't really think about print this way. So it was really a myth we were trying to bust. We also took a look at our rates and really wanted to encourage multiple insertions over a year with a title. So we developed a new level of rate discounts, as well as we reduced the rates on some of our titles. And we also implemented another layer of discounts for clients that are buying multiple titles. So this allows clients to go deep into a vertical, but get the benefit of scale by buying across the network. So we're pretty proud of where we netted out with really feeling strong about making our rates competitive.
Thank you. We have an anonymous question in the chat. How have you managed to keep magazines top of mind during 2020? We saw a vast drop in magazine spend by our clients. How can we get them back on board to reconsider magazine as part of their media plan? Great question. Who wants to take it?
I can jump in and just, and I'm sure that Ken will add some comments as well. I think one of the amazing things that happened in as the pandemic hit is not only were we able to continue producing the level of journalism that we did in our magazine brands, many of us working at our homes, but we didn't lose subscribers. Our subscribers, which have filled the Rogers Center 15-fold, 20-fold by now, stuck with us, and were more than happy to receive their magazines at home as a sort of almost a respite from the pandemic in many cases. So our audience, we always go back to our audience and what we know about them, and their engagement with our brands hasn't dimmed during the pandemic.
So just one thing that that I would add to that is, out of home advertising is fascinating. I keep an eye on it all the time, and people weren't out of home this year. People were in home, and magazines are the in-home advertising vehicle. The advertising comes to you. It sits in your house in a beautiful product, and so I think that's a very compelling thing about magazine advertising. But the way that we stay top of mind with anyone, and this is something our editorial teams talk about all the time, is continue to do great work. That's the best thing that we can do, is do great work that people respect and remember, and that's how we'll stay top of mind. But if you're looking for support on the magazine story and why your clients should be considering, then please, we're more than happy to talk with us. Our whole team, I think, can speak passionately about why print should continue to be part of your mix as a marketer.
Great answers. This is a big one, and I know we've discussed this internally. How do you plan to tackle circulation declines for magazines that were distributed in places like doctors' offices, salons, etc., that are no longer socially acceptable to touch or share?
Yeah, well, I'll take that one since I oversee the consumer revenue group. So yeah, we did the prudent thing when all of the doctor's office and salons, were shut down, and people were getting at-home service for their doctors. We did pull back on our public place, but our public place is kind of a very small percentage of our total circulation. Really, the main segment of our circulation is our subscriptions, which wasn't impacted at all. Newsstands was impacted a little bit because store traffic was down, and some of the retailers did pull back on their magazine space in store. But our biggest chains, where we do the majority of our newsstand volume, like Shoppers Drug Mart, Loblaws, Walmart, our business is still strong there, and really only seeing kind of the same impact they're seeing with store traffic being down because of people with the stay-home order with COVID. But it is our intention that as soon as public place opens up again, that we'll be putting those copies back into distribution, because they are great ways to kind of reach new consumers and give people the experience of a brand, which hopefully will convert them into becoming subscribers.
Thanks, Lynn. There's a question that I think is near and dear to our hearts as, the publishers of Toronto Life about, and some of this was touched on in Sarah's wonderful presentation. Viv is asking, how we are going to cover the forgotten people of Toronto. It's a, compassionate cry for the homeless, the tiny houses. I know that's been in the news front and center. Miriam, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah. Again, I one of the things that really, has kept me at this company for well over 10 years is the conscience of the people, the journalists I work with. We are not political by nature. We don't take political positions, but we're pro-Canada and we're pro-community. And there are many examples throughout our publications and our brands where we've, really told the stories that matter. We all have more work to do on that front as well. Whether it's missing or murdered Indigenous women, which has been a topic that has been, dear to Chatelaine's heart. And to Maclean's, or the plight of homeless and marginalized people in Toronto. You may notice that on the torontolife.com website in our upcoming issue, the issue that's just hitting subscribers now, there's a profile of Tim McFarlane, who is a frontline worker. He's a pharmacy technician at a major Toronto hospital. And just before the pandemic hit, he became homeless, and he is still living in his car. Those kinds of memoirs and stories are very important for us to do, because this is the shape and the character of our city. followed this discussion that we have with our editors on our Slack channel about how, immediately after Tim's story was published, there was huge attention on social media, and people wanted to find out how they could contribute to Tim to help him with his situation. And it just so happened that earlier today, I saw a note that Tim, launched a GoFundMe in light of the reaction, and already Torontonians have contributed $18,000 to Tim in the span of a couple of days. Our journalism is really meant to share the stories of people like Tim. And Toronto responded with this great act of generosity. And I think that's really relevant to what makes me want to continue working with this fine group of people.
Love it. Good question here. Who would you say is your biggest competitor in the Canadian media landscape, and what is your main advantage over them, Ken?
Sure. Well, one thing that I say whenever we talk about competitors is that you'll never catch me speaking ill of any other Canadian media company. I really believe in the power of media, and I believe a rising tide lifts all boats, and I want to see all the media companies succeed. We compete head to head with the Globe and Mail. We compete head to head with the Toronto Star. We compete head to head with any number of digital pure play publishers. We compete head to head with television and radio and outdoor advertising. I think that there's a number of advantages that we have in terms of obviously our size of our audience, our number of capabilities across everything, and the number of different channels that we can bring to bear on any given thing. But I mean, really, our biggest competitors are Facebook and Google, one of the reasons that we're getting out there and talking to more and more people about what we do and who we are and how big we are is to break through this notion that advertising on Facebook is the cheapest, most effective thing that you can do, or advertising on Google is the cheapest, most effective thing that you can do. I really think that not only are we big enough and capable enough to be a really effective way to spend money, but I think you can also feel great about advertising with us. We've been around for these titles, like I said, a combined 500 years, and we have yet to inspire an insurrection or be sued for antitrust or any of the problems that come, I think, with spending money with some of our big tech competitors. But other Canadian media companies, I want us all to succeed.
I think I'll just jump in to say that, every day, we discuss on our team, what do we do better than Facebook and Google? And there's a lot that we do. And number one, we're supporting Canadian content and Canadian journalists and creators. And we create content. We're not using user-generated content. So that's another big differentiator. But, it's high on our radar because we really want to develop great customized content that works for our advertisers' objectives and delivers on their KPIs. And that's something that, is very relevant, and it's part of our kind of weekly conversations about how we can do better.
Next question. Everyone's really curious today, which is great. I have here, do you have any client case studies that prove a content-first approach works?
I can jump in with a few examples. So yeah, many. We have learned over the past several years how to refine our editorial instincts when it comes to telling stories for brands and how to make those stories resonate with our clients and their consumers. A couple of examples that Ken had up on the deck when he was talking about patron studios. Maclean's did a podcast, produced a podcast in partnership with Amazon Prime called The Power of One, which was really about how one individual or a series of individuals can alter the course of history and impact the course of history. That podcast was extraordinarily successful. It more than doubled its download goal. It had 50,000 downloads. It was nominated for awards, and it was at the top of the list, number 2, I believe, for history podcasts on Apple Podcasts. And there was a cover that also went by in Ken's presentation, which was of a woman standing with a surfboard on a beach, if you recall, wearing modest swimwear. That was a partnership, an integrated editorial partnership with Dove. So Dove came to us in the hopes of publicizing their Show Us campaign, which was all about representation of different body shapes, different women, real women in media, and there was a component of it that included access to stock imagery that wasn't all, thin.
Real people.
Real people, exactly. So Chatelaine and Dove participated in this partnership, and we produced a series of 5 covers with real women. It was our swimsuit issue. We won a Silver Mia Award. We created so much reader reaction. There was so much outpouring of Twitter praise and Twitter love from women and social media buzz that we brought back our letters page to the magazine so we could contain it all. And the campaign reached 2.9 million fashion and beauty fans and had total impressions of just over, in a week, of just over 112,000 impressions. So those are just a couple of examples of results that have been achieved through our work with clients.
This might also be for you, Miriam, and I'm going to, in the interest of time, sort of smash these two together. The first question is, do you see yourselves pivoting to virtual events this year, or will you hold out for in-person? And the second question is, how is SJC working with new social media platforms like TikTok? And we do have an exciting event coming up virtually next week on TikTok, but maybe you could take the virtual events one first.
Yeah, so the great thing about us, we never stopped producing events. We pivoted right into virtual, at the outset of the pandemic. Our insider program for Toronto Life continues to have, 2 or 3 times a week virtual programming, whether it's, cooking classes or fireside chats or other events. We've kept them going across many of our brands. So the thing that we really
small plug, virtual wine tasting with the Grape Witches this weekend. That is one of the most popular events that we've ever done on the platform. So yeah, lots and lots of exciting things there. Just wanted to get in a plug for the Grape Witches who are amazing.
Great. Yeah, and they've worked with us in so many different ways before, and we love the Grape Witches. So we're dying to get back in person as everyone else is, to have 1,000 people out at the Brickworks for our Best Restaurants event. And of course we want to do that safely, and we hope to get back into it in the fall if we can. The question about different platforms, our intention is always to approach platforms and the new platforms that we do with deliberate, wonderful storytelling that you can't get anywhere else. And it may take us a little bit of time to develop that, but we are exploring our TikTok strategy right now. Nadine, do you want to talk a little bit about the event that's happening?
Yeah, super exciting. So next week we are part of TikTok's International Women's Day program. And so they're partnering with fashion. We're just pulling together the details for that. But it's Thursday, February 4th. And if you go to fashion and follow them on their social channels, you'll be able to find out more about it. But really exciting panel hosted by our editor, Jennifer Berry. And it's a really new way for us to work together with the platforms to bring our great audiences to theirs and vice versa. I think fashion's done a great job of also featuring TikTokers in their editorial. And it's just, there's a seamless way for us all to work together. And I love seeing that come together.
And it'll be a part of our Canadian, believe it or not, our Canadian business relaunch as well. Finance TikTok, as I've learned, is huge. And I think by focusing on people and companies with great ideas and innovative ideas, TikTok is a natural platform for us to be able to do that kind of storytelling. But we want it to be great. So that's quality is really, really super important to us. And so we're always trying to think of the best ways to deliver that content.
We missed out on the feta and tomato pasta idea.
Oh yeah, we did cover that in Chatelaine though.
Yes, we did. We made it better actually. If you go to chatelaine.com, you can see how we've improved. Irene Goes, our food director, has improved upon the TikTok viral pasta with merguez sausage and other ingredients. So as someone who's had that TikTok pasta for a few times in the past week, my 12-year-old son is a bit of a chef. I look forward to trying the Chatelaine variations.
Amazing. We have a few more questions. I think programmatic is something, did we touch on that? That's a question that came up. How are we selling programmatic?
Yeah, so I'll take that one if you don't mind. We have when it comes to programmatic, we know how important this is to agencies. And programmatic is all about how great the tech stack is that's driving that programmatic. And we've continued to partner with Rogers for our programmatic needs. So Rogers obviously had these brands for many, many years, and we've since moved over the former SJC Media brands, so Chatelaine and Fashion, so on to the Rogers programmatic stack. So you can buy our programmatic offerings directly through Rogers and their platform. But of course, when it comes to digital offerings, like digital direct, we sell that directly, and we can offer run of site, run of network buys across all of our titles. But if you're specifically looking for a programmatic solution, then that's offered through our great relationship with Rogers.
And I'll just add too that we also are continuing our relationship with Elevate at Rogers. Elevate can include SJC Media brands in an Elevate pitch, and they will reach out to us and work together with us. And that's something that I think is, helps differentiate Rogers, certainly because really the power of the audiences and the passion points that our audiences connect with is really important to their portfolio as well. So it's a great partnership that, we work with our branded content team at Patron Studios to leverage their expertise on kind of developing out any proposals that Elevate may be including that utilizes our brands.
Wonderful. We are out of time, unfortunately. So I've reached out to the few people whose questions I didn't get answered with my email. Please feel free to contact me directly and I'll get those answered for you. Any closing remarks?
Well, I'll just jump in to say, to really thank everyone for coming today and to hearing our great story. And we really look forward to working together with you. So I encourage you to reach out to your account executive and let's talk. Let's do some business together.
And stay safe and stay healthy, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.